So we know the committee says the reason for today's hearing is to present recently obtained evidence, but what's not so clear is what this new evidence actually is. With us now to lend some insight into what it might be is Rina Shah. She's a political commentator and chief geopolitical advisor for Loomis. Rina, thank you so much for your time today.
Sure, happy to be here.
So, Rina, you have a pretty unique perspective because you're a registered Republican. You were there at the Capitol on January 6th. I know you weren't participating in the riots, but you were there. Tell us about your experience. What was going through your mind that day, and what do you make of how these hearings are going so far?
Well, on January 6th, it was supposed to be a very normal day. My time on Capitol Hill as a staffer told me that this would be a very normal day. Business as usual, procedure, process, all sort of boring things. I was there on the rooftop of the closest private building to the U.S. Capitol's West Front. I witnessed the entire insurrection go down. I got there about noon, and I couldn't leave until about 5 p.m. What struck me as so unusual during that time is that I was actually next to the tent of Alex Jones of InfoWars, who is known to have been one of the coordinators of the Stop the Steal rally. Now, it should be noted that he has actually been very compliant with the Department of Justice. But while I was there, I actually saw his people in sort of tactical gear, and they were taking selfies with the crowd that was really kind of growing starting around noon. And it kind of got to its height around 2 o'clock from what I recall. And I have personal videos of this. But those guys, it seemed very planned, very sort of predetermined what was going to happen. So while most of us who were on that rooftop that day were completely in shock about the violence and watching people get up on the bleachers that were already erected for inauguration, it was not that unusual to Alex Jones's people. And that was truly months later. It did not hit me until then, how very unusual that was.
So let's talk about what we can expect today in testimony, because Mark Meadows has refused to testify so far, but we will be hearing from his former aide, Cassidy Hutchinson. What more do you know about Cassidy Hutchinson? What can you tell us about her?
Well, you know, as I just alluded to, it seemed to me from my viewpoint that the rally at the Ellipse that made its way to the U.S. Capitol was all sort of some sort of concerted, orchestrated plan. It was all meant to happen. And as a former Hill staffer, as Cassidy Hutchinson herself is, it was really quite striking to me that outside actors were so involved. Now, again, I've been involved in various initiatives over the years that tell me that it's not unusual for members of Congress to coordinate with nonprofit organizations, different type classifications of organizations to attend certain events. For example, a lot of Republican members used to attend the March for Life rallies and continually do. But the insurrection and what we know about Cassidy's role in it all is that she was somebody who was a trusted hand at the White House. She was an employee at the White House, and her appearance today makes her the very first White House employee to appear publicly in front of the January 6th committee. Cassidy is known to have interned for Ted Cruz and the senator, the Congressman Steve Scalise. This is all really important to sort of tell you what kind of person this is. This is a person that was trusted. I do not know her personally, but I know that there are reports of people saying that she was in many meetings with Mark Meadows, the White House chief of staff, back when he was a congressman on Capitol Hill. So, look, I expect today there will be details that she shares in front of the committee today that might disturb some of us about conversations that we had not known about until today. But the very thing I think is most important to note here is that she's appeared privately before this committee 4 times and given almost 20 hours of testimony. So the very fact that they're bringing her out in a last-minute appearance today is really huge. And it signals to me that there might be something bigger here, and the Department of Justice might even be involved.
Some really, really good insight there, Rina. And we're running out of time, unfortunately, but I wanted to get your take on who exactly is watching these hearings. Do they matter? Do you think Trump supporters are watching? Do you think Republicans are watching?
You know, there was a lot of talk in the beginning of how there weren't many people watching, but I have an interesting stat here from, it's a new poll, and it was shared with me by the Lincoln Project. It says there's new polling that shows the hearings are shifting American public opinion. 67% of Americans now believe the Justice Department should bring charges against public officials who tried to overturn the election. That tells you that at least these hearings seem to be working. Not every single one has been in prime time like the very first hearing was, but that shift in public opinion is really big, and it should not be discounted. And today's hearing being so last minute and this one witness, who again is the only White House employee to so far appear before the committee, this could lead to some new figures that tell us that people might be really interested and be tuning in and changing their mind about the former president's involvement on January 6th.
All right, Chief Geopolitical Advisor for Loomis, Rina Shah, we appreciate your time, your insight into the matter. Rina, thank you. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.